He had it all: fame, fortune, and a future brighter than anyone his age. Before he even turned 18, Mikey Williams wasn't just a basketball player. He was a brand. A global phenomenon, a kid from San Diego, with over 3 million followers and multi-million-dollar endorsement deals waiting, before the NBA ever called his name. But one night, one moment of chaos that changed everything, a rising star once compared to LeBron, James suddenly found himself in handcuffs. Facing 9 felony charges, his career shattered before it even began. The headlines that once celebrated him now read like obituaries for a dream. Sponsors gone, scholarships revoked, a promising life spiraling into silence. And yet, somehow, this isn't the end of his story. Because what happened after that night, the courtroom battles, the isolation, the faith, and the slow climb back toward redemption reveals something far deeper than just basketball. This is the rise, fall, and resurrection of Mikey Williams, a modern parable of fame, failure, and faith. A story that asks a haunting question: what happens when the boy who had everything loses it all overnight? But to understand that, we have to start from the very beginning, long before the lights, the deals, or the downfall. Back when basketball was just a dream shared between a father and his son. And that's where the legend began, before the millions of followers. Before the highlight reels, before the Puma deals, the viral dunks, and the courtroom drama, there was just Mikey. A kid with a ball in his hand, a gym in his blood, and a fire in his eyes that never needed to be lit. Because it was born there. Mikey Williams didn't stumble into greatness. He was raised for it. His father, Malin Williams, was a local legend in his own right. A standout player at Sweetwater High, the kind of athlete who didn't just love the game, but understood its psychology. His mother, Charisse, was no stranger to elite competition either. A powerful catcher and outfielder who carved her name into the collegiate softball scene at Hampton University. This wasn't just a supportive home. It was a pressure cooker of excellence. In this household, athletic dominance was expected, not optional. By the time Mikey could walk, he was already dribbling. By age 4, he was running drills with kids twice his age. His father didn't treat him like a toddler. He treated him like a future pro. And Mikey? He didn't flinch. He didn't cry. He just listened, trained harder, and started winning. "I probably started playing when I was 4, Mikey would later say. "My pops was a coach, so I was already around basketball all the time." While other kids were watching cartoons, Mikey was watching game tape. While they were learning multiplication, he was perfecting crossovers. Every bounce of the ball was a heartbeat in his chest. But no one, not even his father, could have predicted what would happen next. Because something was about to happen in middle school. Something that would launch Mikey Williams from local prodigy to national phenomenon. Something that would change everything. And it all started with one dunk. Captured on camera, it was supposed to be just another middle school game, just another rising talent showing out in front of a small crowd. But when Mikey Williams, barely in 7th grade, soared through the lane and threw down a thunderous dunk, everything changed. A student caught it on video. The clip hit Instagram, and within hours, the internet had a new obsession. Mikey wasn't just good, he was viral. He was electric. He was marketable. The comparisons came quick and loud. The next LeBron. The Zion of middle school. He's only 13? Millions of views turned into millions of followers, fast. And Mikey, still too young to drive, was now navigating something even more dangerous than a crowded lane. Premature celebrity. By the time most kids his age were planning sleepovers, Mikey was inking a deal with AND1, the iconic streetball apparel company. At just 13 years old, he became one of the youngest athletes in history to secure a 6-figure NIL-style endorsement, long before those 3 letters even became common in high school sports. But it wasn't just luck. This was all part of a blueprint, drawn by his father. "Really, my pops was the mind behind that," Mikey later admitted. "A lot of the stuff I was doing, I didn't even understand it yet. He just told me it would all make sense." And it did. His Instagram exploded past 3 million followers. Brands started circling. Media companies like Overtime built reality shows around him. Drake was posting about him. LeBron was watching. Kevin Durant was praising. He wasn't just a prospect. He was a content machine. A Gen Z superstar, packaged for the algorithm. But that kind of spotlight burns. And for a teenager still figuring out who he was off the court, the pressure was only beginning to mount. Because behind the filters, behind the curated highlights and shoe deals, Mikey was still a kid. And no one, not even his family, could shield him from what fame was about to bring next. And what came next wasn't just fame, it was domination. By the time Mikey Williams laced up his sneakers for his freshman year at San Ysidro High School in 2019, the hype wasn't just real, it was overwhelming. He walked into high school as a national celebrity, cameras in his face, fans screaming his name, and scouts already predicting NBA greatness. But instead of crumbling under pressure, Mikey exploded. He averaged 29.9 points, 6.7 rebounds, 4.9 assists, and 1.6 steals per game, not as a senior, not as a junior, but as a 14-year-old freshman. That season, San Ysidro stormed its way to a CF San Diego Section Division III championship, and Mikey was at the heart of it all. But one night in particular made history, not just in California, but in the entire high school basketball world. On December 13, 2019, Mikey dropped a mind-blowing 77 points against Montgomery High School. That's right, 77. He buried 9 three-pointers, broke the San Diego County single-game scoring record, and delivered a 116-52 win that would send shockwaves across the country. In that moment, he wasn't a freshman anymore. He was a legend in the making. The awards followed fast. Max Prep's National Freshman of the Year, CIF Player of the Year, First Team All-State, and recruiting offers came flying in from the biggest names in college hoops: Kansas, Duke, North Carolina. Every blue blood wanted him, but Mikey's game was just one part of the phenomenon. His off-court brand was exploding too. Overtime created a full reality series around him, turning his everyday life into binge-worthy content. He was no longer just a basketball player. He was a social media celebrity, a marketing juggernaut, and for many, the face of a new era. The Mikey Williams effect was real. He had turned high school basketball into a business, but success that big, that young, doesn't come without a cost. The lights got brighter, the expectations got heavier, and the line between authenticity and performance began to blur, because Mikey wasn't just trying to win games anymore. He was trying to survive the spotlight, and soon, the pressure of being the chosen one would start showing signs of something darker beneath the surface. By the time Mikey turned 17, he wasn't just a basketball prodigy, he was a walking empire. While most teenagers were worried about prom or driving tests, Mikey was signing a multi-year deal with Puma, launching his own sneaker line, and appearing in national commercials for NBA 2K22 and Cash App. His NIL valuation? Between $3.6 and $6 million, making him one of the richest high school athletes in American history. This wasn't the old model of college hoops. Mikey was one of the first test subjects of the NIL revolution, where fame, money, and branding collided with youth and pressure, and it was working, on the surface. He had the money. He had the fans. He had cosigns from Drake, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. His Instagram was flooded with lifestyle posts, workouts, designer clothes, and high-end cars. To be that young with that many followers. Was it hard for you? Mikey's response: yeah, 'cause I didn't know what to do. And that's the part most people missed. Behind the highlights and filters was a teenager trying to process adulthood in hyperspeed. He wasn't even in college yet, but the world was treating him like a seasoned pro, with zero room for mistakes. He committed to Memphis in 2022, eager to play under Penny Hardaway, another basketball legend turned mentor. It felt like the perfect fit: NBA pedigree, fast-track development, and national exposure. But even then, cracks were forming. Coaches started whispering about inconsistency. Scouts noted mood swings, entourage distractions, and a growing sense that Mikey was playing for cameras, not coaches. Behind closed doors, people in the basketball world started asking, is he still focused? Is he still hungry? Or has the fame already won? Because while Mikey's story looked like a fairy tale, what came next would feel like a nightmare, and it would all unfold in the span of a single night. One decision, one argument, and everything he built would fall apart. March 27th, 2023. A Tuesday night in Jamul, California, just outside San Diego. Mikey Williams was at home in his $1.2 million property, a symbol of everything he'd earned before even stepping onto a college court. But what should have been another quiet night turned into the moment his life split in two. According to reports, an argument broke out at Mikey's house after a group of uninvited guests arrived. Tensions escalated fast, and as they attempted to leave in a Tesla Model 3, someone opened fire. The car was struck multiple times. Miraculously, no one was injured. But what came next was irreversible. Just 2 weeks later, on April 13, 2023, Mikey Williams was arrested. Not one, not two, but 6 felony charges. The accusations? 3 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. 1 count of making criminal threats. 2 counts of firing at an occupied vehicle. Each charge carried years of prison time. And the stakes were about to get higher. In October 2023, during a preliminary hearing, the prosecution added 3 more charges, including grand theft auto, bringing the total to 9 felonies, if convicted on all counts. Over 30 years behind bars, the basketball world was stunned. Social media exploded. Bleacher Report, ESPN, TMZ, everyone was covering it. Fans, stunned by the arrest, flooded comment sections with heartbreak and disbelief. Some compared Mikey's downfall to Ja Morant's gun suspension, calling it the Morant effect, a rising pattern of young black athletes caught in gun-related controversies. Even Penny Hardaway, the Memphis coach who had courted Mikey so heavily, offered nothing more than a cold, cautious statement. We're aware of the situation and gathering more information. Translation? He was done, Puma dropped him. Lace clips dropped him. College doors slammed shut. And the kid who once ruled highlight reels was now the face of a legal horror story. But what hurt the most wasn't just the charges. It was the silence that followed. No more cameras. No more fans. Just cold courtrooms and a future hanging by a thread. And yet this wasn't rock bottom. That was still coming. The spotlight that once made Mikey Williams a star had now turned ice cold. A courtroom spotlight that never blinked. From April 2023 onward, his life became a parade of hearings, delays, and dread. Every time he walked into court, the cameras rolled. But this time, they weren't there to celebrate him. They were there to watch him fall. I wasn't going to get myself out of that. Neither was my lawyers. It was really God. Those were Mikey's own words later, a glimpse into just how hopeless it felt. As the legal process dragged on, the reality of what he was facing grew heavier by the week. Each felony charge carried up to 9 years. Stacked together, he could have served decades in prison. And it wasn't just his freedom on the line. It was everything. His deal with Puma? Terminated. His partnership with Lace Clips? Gone. His NIL valuation, once over $3.6 million, plummeted overnight. The brands that once built him up were now running for cover, and so was Memphis. The school that once treated Mikey like a king now issued silence and suspension. He was banned from team activities, forced into a redshirt freshman year without ever playing a single game. He tried to stay focused, training, lifting, staying sharp. But it wasn't the same. At first, I was in the gym every day. But once I started going through what I was going through, that wasn't the main thing on my mind anymore. And how could it be? Mikey had gone from packed gyms and shoe launches to legal documents, bail hearings, and $50,000 bond. Even worse, he was alone. He deactivated his social media, not once, but multiple times for months at a time. The noise was too loud. The judgment too cruel. The confidence that once radiated through highlight tapes was gone. Days be frustrating, bro. Like for sure. His father, Ma Lin, who once steered his empire, now watched helplessly from the sidelines, filled with guilt, fear, and a helplessness no parent ever wants to feel. Scouts stopped calling. Recruiters moved on. Other young players, Jared McCain, Rob Dillingham, took the spotlight Mikey used to own, and for a while, it looked like the story was over. No comeback, no court, no NBA, just wasted talent and regret. But deep inside, Mikey wasn't done. Because while the system had its hold on him, so did something else. Faith. And that's when the unthinkable happened. The comeback began, not on the court, but in the courtroom. November 30th, 2023. A courtroom in California. What had felt like a slow-motion collapse for over 8 months was about to shift. Because on that day, with everything on the line, Mikey Williams took a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of making criminal threats, a felony under California Penal Code 422, but in exchange, the other 8 felony charges, including gun-related and grand theft accusations, were dismissed. It wasn't a declaration of innocence. It was something more important. A lifeline. The terms of the deal were strict. Mikey had to complete anger management courses, cognitive, behavioral therapy, gun safety training, and 80 hours of community service. And here's the part that stunned everyone watching. Mikey didn't just complete them. He went above and beyond. He volunteered with youth programs, spoke to at-risk teens, and began showing up in communities that once only saw him online. This wasn't a PR stunt, it was personal. It was raw. It was real. By the time of his sentencing in August 2024, Judge Sherry M. Thompson Taylor officially reduced the felony to a misdemeanor. No prison, no house arrest, just 1 year of probation and a 10-year restriction on owning firearms. But more than that, he was free. Free to play. Free to begin again. Faith? God. I was stuck in a tough position, Mikey said after the sentencing. I wasn't going to get myself out of that. Neither was my lawyers. It was really God. The basketball world watched in cautious amazement. Many expected Mikey to disappear. Instead, he re-entered the college world with humility and hunger. His time with Memphis was officially over. They hadn't fought for him, and he wasn't begging to return. Instead, he transferred to UCF, the University of Central Florida, in March 2024, under coach Johnny Dawkins, who believed in second chances. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't national TV, but it was a clean slate. In his first season back, Mikey played in 18 games, starting 5. He averaged just 5.1 points, 1.9 rebounds, and 0.7 assists in 14 minutes per game. For a kid who once dropped 77 points in a high school game, the numbers were humbling. But the meaning? Priceless. I'll play 5 minutes, 7 minutes. It don't matter. I'm just grateful to be out here. It'll make you shed a tear. That's the biggest blessing. And through every interview, you could hear it in his voice. The ego was gone. The image shattered. What remained was a man, not a myth. He knew he wasn't the same Mikey anymore. And that was the point. Because this time, he wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing redemption. By April 2025, Mikey Williams made one more move, maybe his most important yet. He entered the transfer portal once again, this time landing at Sacramento State. To outsiders, it seemed like a downgrade. But for Mikey, this wasn't about hype anymore. It was about trust. It was about growth. It was about finally finding a place where he could rebuild, not just rebrand. At Sacramento State, he found that, under the leadership of head coach Mike Bibby, a former NBA All-Star, and with Shaquille O'Neal serving as president of basketball operations, Mikey finally had what he'd been missing for years: